If you are EQing or if you're working on mixing a group of mics, say there were multiple mics on a drum set, I highly recommend you check out busing them together to an aux and then doing most of your processing on that aux, EQ in particular, because what happens when you have all of these different microphones that are recording something that happened all at one time is you're going to have you go and you start tweaking things, you start adding filters and EQing stuff. You're shifting the phase all around on each of the individual mics, and then you get a drum that might sound good in isolation, but you're really not getting the picture of the whole drum set. And the drum set is an instrument, so it needs to be treated as an instrument. You wouldn't hear just the snare drum in a close snare mic a couple inches away from the drum head without also hearing the overheads. So, and you wouldn't listen to a snare drum from a few inches off the drum head either. So I think it's important to approach it that way, to think of it that way, but also not to be destructive of the drums by going in and doing a lot of drastic EQing that's going to affect all of the other drums because of the spill into those mics. A lot of times it can be just as effective to do it to the whole drum group. So here's an example of maybe some EQ tweaks that I might do. This is Ghost by Alex Prezzano. It's Aaron Drescher on drums, and all of these individual mics are actually unprocessed. They're pretty dry. But I'm doing an EQ on the whole kit. So in the kick drum, there was this resonance that I didn't like around 78 hertz. And you could just take it out of the kick drum, but it was probably happening in the room. So why not take it out of the entire drum kit? Here's with that notch. I cleaned up the whole thing. And then up here I have a dynamic a high shelf that's just reacting to the open hi-hats a little later in the song and some of the crash cymbals. And instead of just applying that to the overheads, it made sense to do it to the whole drum kit, because there's also going to be high-end information that's going to get overwhelming in the snare mic. You always get a lot of hi-hat bleed in that snare mic. And this kind of is a one-stop shop for all of those issues. Without it. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear that on something like on your phone, but it's making just enough of a subtle difference. And I think that if I had done that to just the overheads, or if I had gone in and put that big notch in the kick drum, we would have not had as nice of a result. So something to try. See if you can get away with EQing the drum kit next time you want to go through and you want to pick out a frequency to play with. Give it a shot.